I think everyone's using the wrong camera. And I don't mean you picked the wrong camera brand. I mean you're chasing the completely wrong idea of what a good camera even is. See, everyone's obsessed with megapixels, dynamic range, autofocus points, color science, and all that technical stuff. That looks good on paper, but means absolutely nothing when you're actually out there shooting. And that's the part that nobody really wants to admit. Because the truth, the camera that can make your work blow up online probably isn't even on your radar. I'm talking about those weird, half-forgotten, kind of slightly janky cameras. We've all been hypnotized into thinking that better specs equals better art. But the cameras that make you feel something, they're often the ones that nobody even talks about. With that being said, I want to offer you a list of some really good cameras that are going to not only one, make your work look different from everyone else's, but also give you that experience in using a camera that I feel like cameras should definitely grant to you while you use them. So the first hidden gem I have for you is the Ricoh GR3X. Tiny sensor, pocket-sized body, and somehow this thing delivers the most cinematic street shots I've ever seen. It's really the anti-hype camera. It doesn't make sense to flex it on Instagram, but I'm not gonna lie. If you want your compositions to be honest, this thing will roast your skills in the best way, because this is one of those ones where it's not gonna baby you throughout the process, and there's not all of this extra stuff that's gonna help you compensate for your lack of talent as a photographer. Let me hit you with this real quick. When was the last time your camera actually challenged you? Not like you just captured what you saw, but it really made you see differently. So the next camera I have for you is the Fujifilm X-E4. So people slept on this camera really hard. It's like Fuji put the soul of a film rangefinder into a YouTuber sized body. It's got manual dials, minimal buttons, and it makes every shot feel intentional. It's not about speed, it's about rhythm, and with this camera, you really will find yourself just really dialing in and locking in with it. It can be really interesting to use from all of the reviews and people that I've seen and heard use it, and the images that come from it are pretty good. You can't really ask for too much more when it comes to finding something simple, something easy, and something just overall interesting to use. And I feel like with this camera, you're going to get the best of all of those worlds, but also an experience that isn't going to just hand you great images, one that's really going to make you earn it, and it's going to polish your skills personally as a photographer. But real quick, let me hit you with something before we get into the final option that I have for you here. Let's just say you ditched all of your current gear, everything, no full frame, no top tier glass, just one wrong camera, quote unquote, from this list. Would your photos get worse, or do you think they would finally start to develop their own character and look like your own personal work? Have you built your style, or is it just your setup? And I know this kind of might sound like a hot take, but maybe we've all been hiding behind expensive gear for years because we're scared of finding out what our real creative instincts look like. When the training wheels come off, that really proves how we operate as creators. But if you're enjoying this content so far, leave a like, that helps me out a great deal, and of course subscribe, because again, I have a goal. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by Christmas. I have a bet going on with my mom, so if you could subscribe, that would help me out a great deal, and I would really appreciate that. But anyways, drop your answer to that question in the comment section down below. I would love to read and see what you all would have to say about this. And anyways, let's get straight back into it. So the last hidden gem I have on this list for you is the Sigma FP. Now this camera is literally a modular box. There's no grip, no built-in viewfinder, nothing fancy at all, but it gives you this raw and unfiltered look that's really just chef's kiss in my opinion. It feels like the opposite of a smartphone photo. Every frame feels like it's arguing with you, and I feel like that's what makes this thing addictive. So definitely don't sleep on this. So now, if you're wondering about this list and how these cameras even are, here's where it gets a lot more interesting, because we're going to touch a little bit on why quote unquote wrong cameras actually make you better. When you pick up an older camera, it can feel like taking a step back in time. The buttons are fewer, the screens are smaller, the autofocus might be slow, and the ISO performance by today's standards is probably almost laughable. But here's the thing, those limitations are actually what makes these cameras so rewarding to use. Because in a world where modern cameras are loaded with AI-driven autofocus, perfect image stabilization, endless megapixels, the older cameras remind us that imperfection can still be beautiful. Their sensors and optics weren't as refined, and that lack of refinement gives images a distinct personality. one that's hard to replicate with today's ultra clean technology. Early digital sensors, for instance, had unique color science and noise characteristics. Shadows might fall off in strange ways, highlights might clip unpredictably, and textures can carry this subtle digital grit that feels more organic than clinical. These quirks weren't flaws, they were fingerprints, signatures of an era in imaging that was still finding its voice. And the lenses, those are a whole world of character on their own. The older glass often had less precise coatings, softer edges, and unpredictable bokeh. But that flaw, it added true emotion. A slightly dreamy softness at wider apertures make portraits feel nostalgic. Some lens flare, instead of being an error, becomes an element of storytelling. Each imperfection introduces a little bit of chaos, and creativity thrives in chaos. There's also something deeply satisfying about the process of using these cameras. They do slow you down just a little bit more than a typical camera, because you can't rely on 40 frames a second or perfect eye detection. You start paying attention to composition, to light, to timing, and photography stops being about technical perfection and becomes more about intent, and every shot really does just feel earned. And maybe that's why so many photographers are rediscovering old gear today. It's not just about saving money, it's about reconnecting with the essence of image making as a whole. The quirks and flaws of those early digital or film cameras can teach you to see completely differently, to embrace those accidents that often lives in imperfection. At the end of the day, older cameras remind us that photography isn't about how perfectly you capture a scene, it's about how honestly you can see it. And sometimes, it's those imperfections that help us see the world in the most human way. So here's where I'm going to challenge you. The next time you shoot, take out that weird or older camera that you've got sitting somewhere, or one that you haven't picked up for a long time, or even go grab one for under a couple $100 on either Facebook Marketplace or eBay. Because at the end of the day, no one's scrolling through your feed thinking, wow, the dynamic range on this is so good. They're thinking, why does this photo actually make me feel some type of way? And that's the secret that no spec sheet will ever be able to teach you. So being able to invoke these emotions out of any camera is the final test, I feel like, that shows if you are a true photographer or just someone who takes photos. Remember at the beginning when I said everyone is using the wrong camera? But maybe that's not by a mistake. Maybe the quote-unquote wrong camera is the only one that can show you who you actually are behind the lens. So stop looking for the perfect tool and start making imperfect art. Because if your camera isn't even a little inconvenient, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough to actually become better. But anyway, that's really all I have for you in this one. So if you enjoyed this video, of course, leave a like. I would appreciate that a lot, and subscribe. Again, trying to hit 10,000 by Christmas, and your support would mean a lot. So I would really appreciate that. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to know what you all have to say, if you've ever tried any of these cameras, or what do you use to shoot? What is your ideal and perfect camera? I would love to know. But anyways, again, I appreciate you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.